Hi guys, it's Julz, and today I would like to talk to you about one of my most debilitating symptom in post-acute withdrawal, which is monophobia. Was monophobia because it's something of the past. So it'll be for you too if you're experiencing it. So, what does monophobia actually stand for? What does it mean, monophobia? Well, it's the fear of being alone, which is a little counterintuitive because for me it wasn't so much. I didn't feel scared of being alone. However, when I was alone and when I had this monophobia, like bout of monophobia, my brain would actually, I think it would be more of a kind of mental torment, torture, akathisia, horrible suffering, so much so that I actually realized that having people around me actually more or less distracted me from the chaos within my brain. And so, it was kind of a byproduct, if you kind of follow my train of thought. So it wasn't so much the fear of being alone for me, but it was that being alone made me focus so much more on the horrors inside my brain, that my coping would be via having people around me. And so this, when you kind of short circuit the thing, uh, well, it ends up being monophobia actually. So and how did it feel in the moment of having this monophobia? Well, I once wrote on either my blog or different um, different posts talking about this. I would say it's like bungee jumping, but never actually hitting the ground, and you're just going up and down and up and down and up and down, and you're going like, come on, this is going to, to start lessening, and slowly you'll come to a standstill and you'll be okay. Well, it would go on and on and on and on and on and on, and I just think, come on, hit the ground now. The suffering was so immense, was just a level of craziness. It's plus it puts you in a state of such vulnerability because you're dependent on other people to be there for you. And so for the first time in my adult life, I was scared of being alone, and so not okay when I was alone. Like my sanity was at risk, or I don't know what was at risk, but I was really not okay. And when I say I was not okay, well, you're watching this, so I don't think I need to convince you of how horrible it is. And I really empathize with you. I'm really sorry you have to watch this. I'm really sorry you have to be watching this. And well, yeah, I'm here to say you are not alone. I know it doesn't feel that way. I know how horrendous it feels. I know when you're on the phone with somebody, but you feel so disconnected. You need somebody to be there physically. So how did I cope with that? Well, at first, the very intuitive thing to do is to latch on to people, your family, or whoever. Well, for me, yes, I started latching on to my mother. And then when she had to go back to work, well, just to let you know, it for me it would happen during specific times of the day. It would start at around 5 p.m., and then it would go on until bedtime, and way beyond bedtime. But I mean, there would be that time between say 5 p.m. and all dinner time and all, I needed somebody to, I needed to be with somebody. I didn't need somebody to be with. I needed to be with somebody in order to feel like I was, or to pretend like I was functioning. To pretend that I was functioning. Excuse my grammar. um, so I started latching on to my mom, and then it wasn't possible anymore. I won't go into all the details of the why and and then I found a solution in my brother, and then it wasn't possible anymore. But at the same time, when you depend on specific people, your family members, or maybe it could be a friend, or if you have one or two people you kind of ring up, I need to, where are you, I need to join you, we need to meet up, or I need to come to yours or come to mine, or you feel so vulnerable and needy, and it's a horrendous place to be in. I know that it made me suffer so much because of how also unreliable your safe people can be. Because do they really realize the level of need, the in order to survive? You actually feel like you're dying when you're having to cope through a minute alone, or it's that level of torture. And so the universe actually gave me a kick in the butt, in the sense that people who used to be my safe people, but then again, when I'm saying safe people, well, there was the degree of them not being so safe because they could not show up, they could have other things to do, or quite simply feeling they're burning out, and they can't anymore. And that's normal too, because they have lives, because they also need to take care of their own sanity, and they need their space. So don't resent your folks, if they're if they can't anymore. But what I'm going to say is that it actually forced me at that time to find other solutions. And what I'm going to say is that there are other solutions, rather than latching on as a last resource solution. Because when we have a solution and we're actually still suffering a lot, well, we don't go looking for a better solution. You don't have the need for looking for a better solution, and you also don't feel like you have the strength, but you actually do. And there are other solutions. So what did I do? I'm telling you, I did not have a choice. I needed other solutions because I had no safe people anymore. So what I did, well, I went on the internet, as you do, obviously. I started looking for volunteering opportunities. I didn't, because I was also coupling with symptoms of anhedonia, of so many more other symptoms. I didn't look for something I would like to do. I didn't have that luxury of looking for something I wanted to do, or would like to do, or took pleasure in doing, or no. I needed to be busy. I needed to be physically and mentally engaged in something with people, because on my own I could not function, because without a structure I could not function. I felt like I was going to go insane, to die, or I don't know what was going to happen, but I didn't want to know what was going to happen. So I needed something desperately. So all I knew was that every day, I'd wake up not having monophobia. Lunchtime, I didn't have monophobia, I could cope. 4 p.m., 5 p.m., I would start feeling the anxiety ramping up and feeling that mental anguish, mental torture coming up and up and up and up and up and building towards having monophobia. And I just knew what was going to happen every day. That would be my pattern. So every day I had to find an activity for myself, to find something to be engaged physically, mentally, to have that time where I would not be alone, and so I could go through the motions of something. So I looked for volunteering opportunities that would happen at like 5 p.m. and things which begin at 5 p.m. and last until like 9 p.m. or so. And actually, when you start looking for things, you find so many of them. So volunteering, I volunteered with elderly people with Alzheimer's. I volunteered with children who weren't so lucky in life. You actually realize that there are people who need you, who may depend on you, and so you're reversing it. You because you are looking for something because you desperately need this something, and you actually see that in your coping you're actually making yourself dependable, because you actually find people who need you in different ways that you need them, but you don't have to tell them. You don't have to say, hey, I'm Julz, I'm here because I have monophobia and I can't stay home, so give me something to do. No, you don't need to tell people that. You don't need to tell people you're in withdrawal. You don't, if you feel you want to, if you feel you need to, I mean, it's very personal, but I showed up to all these volunteering events. Nobody had any idea of why I was actually really there. So volunteering was one thing. I also went onto the website, maybe you know of that, meetup.com, and whether it's available to you in your country. It's available in many countries. And you can find things online, but I wasn't interested in workshops like online. But you can find so many things. You can find workshops. Some will be paid for. Some will be free. Workshops on anything under the moon, on the sun, on this earth. I mean, it can be. Goodness me, I did acting, I did dancing, I did yoga, I did group discussions on everything possible, philosophy, on sciences, on books. I did creative writing. Again, more volunteering things, more classes, workshops, and I I needed a structure every day at 6 p.m. I could not just finish my day and go home. No, that is when my serious coping day needed to start. So I needed an activity. So volunteering, yoga, whatever, what have you, it didn't matter. Did I want to do it? That didn't matter. You stop asking yourself that kind of question. You just know that you need to cope. And so you stop thinking in that way. You just sign up, you show up, and you know that it's going to be less terrible than not having this in place. So you go, and so yeah, it's no fun. But at the same time, and if you've watched my video on my story, you will have heard me say that already, that it's actually with lots of hindsight, um, it's actually when I started to get back into the world. And even if the reason for doing all these things was because I needed to survive through these symptoms, through this specific symptom of monophobia, well, with hindsight, I see that I was starting to actually take my first steps back into the world after having been so disconnected and having been a nobody for 13 years. I mean, I was a zombie. I was passed out on a couch for many hours of the day because of the drugs, because when I was tapering. And then, I was suffering a lot with this symptom. But I was actually back into the world. I was actually starting to do things. I was actually starting to build upon meaningful relationships. I was actually beginning to have some meaningful conversations, even though I was feeling so out of place. I was feeling so detached from myself. I was feeling like I kept having all these thoughts, like all the mental looping thoughts, also thinking, but they'll all see that I'm in withdrawal, or thinking, but why am I even here? I'm not enjoying this, or all the thoughts that you can have, or the thoughts of I'll never be healed, or I was actually beginning to live again. So I didn't feel like I was living, okay? But with a lot of hindsight, you see that your little fire within you, it might be a tiny flicker of something, but it's there. And you know how a fire is started. You just need a little flicker of a something, and this grows, and you can't stop it. And this is really what happens with your healing. You'll see that it'll start to unfold, and you can't you won't stop it. That's just life finding its way back into your veins, just as it should be. And you've given yourself the power and the means to do this. So trust yourself, trust the process, trust your biology, trust your healing, like neuroplasticity, your ability to heal. And that so many have been there before you, so many have been there before us. And perhaps I'm a bit ahead of you. Well, I've been there where you are, struggling with monophobia and despair, and thinking, my God, how am I going to cope through another day of this, or another minute of it? I have been there, buddies. And you go from surviving to coping, which is already huge. And I remember when I had the structure of classes and volunteering, and I had a kind of structure to my week, to that 6 p.m. onwards. And that felt like, okay, I have this now. I don't need to re-implement it every day, because yes, every Tuesday I have this workshop, every Thursday I have this workshop, and on Wednesdays, well, every odd week I'll have this volunteering opportunity, and every other week I'll have this in place. So you become a master at your own coping, and this is empowering. This is when you actually start to feel empowered, and compared to trying to latch on to people, and to every day having to convince them to be with you, which is something you need to redo every day, and this is a horrendous place to be in. So that's what I'm saying. Give yourselves the means and the power. Give yourself a structure that will not depend on one or two people. And again, these people, they're probably doing the best that they can, but it's very hard also for people around us to see us suffer so much, and they also need their space. They need to be able to take a breather. And yes, we don't have the luxury of taking a breather whenever we want. I wish we could, say, okay, we'll take Sunday off and then go back into withdrawal on Monday. Now that would be horrendous. To need to have the willpower to get back into it on a Monday morning. But yeah, so what I'm saying is that empower yourself with your coping buddies, and they are solutions. So put something into place. When it is in place, you will feel that even if the symptom is still there, well, you're actually coping with it much better. It makes you so much less anxious, makes you so much less vulnerable. It You take away its power for so much torture over yourself, and it does get better. It does get better. And so put in the time, and actually you probably won't see it as it happens, but you will see that when you put a structure in place and you start doing other things, even if it's for, at the beginning, the wrong reasons, well, the reasons of having to survive and cope, well, you might look back in a not so distant future and realize that this is actually when you start rebuilding things, when it wasn't even your first intention, and healing is unfolding in very different ways you maybe hadn't foreseen. And this is just everything that I'm wishing for you today. So hopefully you found some of this helpful. Let me know what your coping tools are. Let me know what your experiences are. Share with me other topics for videos. Share with me any feedback. Connect with me. That's why I'm also making those, is to create a connection within the community, because I find that very empowering too. So let me know what your needs are, and hopefully I can address some issues that are meaningful to you. So thank you for watching again. Thank you for listening to my ramblings. I hope some of this has helped. I'm wishing you the best days, the best day, buddies. Take good care of yourself, because you're the one person who can take the best care of yourself. And keep going, and believe in yourself. And talk very soon. Like, subscribe, all the usual stuff. Follow me on my Facebook page, and I'll link many things. Hopefully I'll figure it out. Thank you for being so very patient with me. Chat soon. Bye.